All right, welcome back to Occult Perspectives. This is the next part of the Divine Comedy Dante's Inferno series. I think this is video 7 now, part 7 or 8. And we are finally to Canto 3. So we are going to go over hell today. Yes, the vibration of hell, rather than a physical place, but allegorically represented as a physical place, of course, in Dante's Inferno. We have extensively covered the first 2 cantos. It took like a whole 6 videos or whatever it was to do that. But real quick, the summary of Canto 1 was the voyager narrator, Dante, astray by night in a dark forest. Morning in the sunlit hill, 3 beasts that impede his ascent, the encounter with Virgil, who offers his guidance, and an alternative path through 2 of the 3 realms the voyager must visit. Canto 2 was the following evening. There was an invocation to the muses, the narrator's questioning, Dante's questioning of his worthiness to visit the deathless world, Virgil's comforting explanation that he has been sent to help Dante by 3 ladies of heaven. The voyager heartened their setting out. And of course, I've got 2 versions of the Divine Comedy. In this really fancy one, it's really full of cool pictures. I'm not going to be able to show you all the pictures because there's so many of them. But here's a couple, like when this is how it is when you open up into the beginning of Inferno. Dante's kind of in the woods at first. I think maybe I used something like that for one of my videos. You see you've got the leopards up here, and there's the lion on a hill right there. So very cool illustrations in this. The only other illustration I think I'm going to go over or show you today, unless I find another one, but I think this is the only one in Canto 3. You can kind of see the gate to hell, which says all hope abandon ye who enter in, at least this translation in this book. But see how they're going towards the cave, and the gates to hell are like down there. It doesn't actually show you what it looks like. It's really crazy looking in the video game, actually, Dante's Inferno. I highly recommend you play that game if you haven't, and you're a fan of, the Divine Comedy, especially if you're a fan of Inferno. Personally, Paradiso, the 3rd installation of the Divine Comedy, is my favorite. It's super cool, super celestial, and beautiful. But of course you have to work through hell, they say, before you get to paradise. So let's start off with Canto 3. Let's get straight into it. The summary of Canto 3 here in this, the student version. The inscription above the gate of hell, the anti-inferno, where the shades of those who lived without praise and without blame now intermingle with the neutral angels. He who made the great refusal, I'm assuming they're talking about Satan or Lucifer, the river Acheron, and then the character Charon, which is, I think he's the one that he's the ferryman that takes people on the boat. Dante's loss of his senses as the earth trembles at the end of the canto. So I don't know if we'll get through all of Canto 3 in this video, but we're gonna start out on the adventure into hell. In this canto, it starts out with the inscription that is above, the gate of hell. It says, "Through me the way into the suffering city, through me the way to the eternal pain, through me the way that runs among the lost. Justice urged on my high artificer. My maker was divine authority, the highest wisdom, and the primal love. Before me nothing but eternal things were made, and I endure eternally. Abandon every hope, ye who enter here. Abandon every hope who enter here." These words, their aspect was obscure, I read inscribed above a gateway. And Dante says to Virgil, "Master, their meaning is difficult for me." So let's go ahead and let me check the footnotes here. I did not bring my actual paper notes out with me, but I probably am not going to really miss anything because I'm doing this pretty extensively, going into the details. My high artificer, mentioned in line 4, justice urged on my high artificer. And for those of you who are brothers, you should recognize that term. And the high artificer is God, who created hell as the place of ultimate justice, where all those who die without having repented of serious mortal sins will be punished eternally for them. Lines 5 to 6 allude to the doctrine of the Trinity, that is, of God as 3 persons in one. You know, the power of the Father, the wisdom of the Son, and the love of the Holy Spirit. This is kind of Trinity aspect idea. We see analogies in this with even like Zelda, the Triforce. Courage, wisdom, and power. So the power would be God, the wisdom of the Son, and the love or the courage of the Holy Spirit, if we were to look at it that way. Okay, so lines 5 to 6 that we just read on the inscriptions above the gate of hell. Justice urged on my high artificer. My maker was divine authority, the highest wisdom, and the primal love. So it's the source of everything. It's this very Kabbalistic description of God right here in the beginning. And since this is so deep, and kind of significant, I'll go ahead and go over to the other Divine Comedy version right here, and we will read the older translation of this. But see, I've talked in videos past about how, it's not so much the idea of an eternal hell and an eternal heaven weren't concepts that really came along until later on in like Christianity. If we look at like the Eastern beliefs and stuff like that, they see it more as it's all eternity. We are all constantly evolving. So sometimes things are in a state of hell if they're in that vibration. Sometimes it's more of a vibration of heaven. But I don't think anything really suffers eternally unless it would choose to do so. I think everything is given the chance to basically redeem itself. If you mess up, you know what, you can make up for it. And the love of the Creator, the divine, the Almighty Father, the supreme true architect, his love is so merciful that he understands. And he's also, I'm referring to it as a he, but ultimately it would be androgynous, has love for us that is so extensive that it understands. So moving on, not really moving on, I'm going to go to Canto 3 in the older translation and see how that sounds different. So we're going from line 1 to like line 9. Through me, the way is to the city dolent. See, dolent, that's not a definition I even know the word. I don't know the definition to the word dolent. Through me, the way is to eternal dole. D-O-L-E. Must be pain. Through me, the way among the people lost. Justice incited my sublime Creator. So justice incited God. Created me divine omnipotence, the highest wisdom and the primal love. Interesting. Before me there were no created things, only etern, and I eternal last. All hope abandon ye who enter in. These words in somber color I beheld written upon the summit of a gate, these gates of hell, whence their sense is, master, hard to me. And he to me as one experienced. Here all suspicion needs must be abandoned, all cowardice must needs be here extinct. Let's see what it says on page 68. These words, their aspect was obscure, I read, inscribed above the gateway, and I said, Master, their meaning is difficult for me, and he to me as one who comprehends. Here one must leave behind all hesitation. Here every cowardice must meet its death. For we have reached the place of which I spoke, where you will see the miserable people, those who have lost the good of the intellect. So there's There's a connection here to these people who are stuck in hell. It's like they've lost their intellect. And if you remember from the Hebrew stuff, you have the Ruach. I think the Ruach is the one that is the intellect. There's different parts of the soul. There's the Nefesh, the Ruach, and there's two others, which I can't remember at the moment. But I feel like those are just, it's like almost like an organ to the body. That's how these parts of our soul are. They're like connected to us. And we have to continue feeding the intellect. We have to continue strengthening these forces, these spiritual forces, so that we can continue doing the great work. It's like the philosopher's gold, you know, the philosopher's stone. It's what's going to truly lead to like immortality and stuff like that, you know, is if we work on ourselves, we work through transmuting the self. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked like I always do. And when with gladness in his face he placed his hand upon my own to comfort me, so Virgil put his hand upon Dante, and drew me in among the hidden things. Here sighs and lamentations and loud cries were echoing across the starless air, so that as soon as I set out, I wept. So Dante starts crying. Strange utterances, horrible pronouncements, accents of anger, words of suffering, etc., etc. I'm going to go back to the footnotes real quick, see if there's anything I missed there. Okay, 7. Let's go back up to the gates of hell, where it said, above it, it said, through me the way into the suffering city, through me the way to the eternal pain, through me the way that runs among the lost. Justice urged on my high artificer. My maker was divine authority, the highest wisdom, and the primal love. Before me nothing but eternal things were made. So before me nothing but eternal things were made, and I endure eternally. Eternal things are the angels, the heavens, and prime matter created by God in the very beginning. Hell was created later, when many angels led by Lucifer rebelled against God and were cast down into it from paradise. And then note 18 as well, we were just talking about the power of the intellect, where it says, for you will see the miserable people, those who have lost the good of the intellect. God as infinite truth, the object of intellectual vision in paradise, which the souls in hell have lost forever. They became so base and corrupt that they totally lost the vision of heaven, of paradise that exists within the divine intellect of ourselves. So I think that's really deep. Like, we can't lose that vision. We can't lose that hope as we're looking to manifest beauty here on the material plane. I think I'm going to cover a little bit more. I'm definitely not going to get through all of Canto 3, that's for sure. I just did a video like right before this. My voice is starting to get just a little bit tired. But really, I mean, I could go on for hours and hours and hours, but I try to make these videos without too many mistakes. I make sure that I'm on some kind of a roll, you know, before I start, that my energies are ready to go. So, but I am feeling that I need a break pretty soon. So I'm not going to make this video too much longer. I think this was a pretty good start on Canto 3 for today. But let's go ahead and cover just a little bit more. So they're going into the gates now. They've already gone through accents of anger, words of suffering, and voices shrill and faint, and beating hands. All went to make a tumult that will whirl forever through that turbid, timeless air, like sand that eddies when a whirlwind swirls. And I, my head oppressed by horror, said, Master, what is it that I hear? Who are those people so defeated by their pain? And I don't know that it would do me much good to go ahead and try to read the older, archaic version of what I just read to you, just because it's probably really, like, tongue-twisty. Language, diverse, horrible dialects, accents of anger, words of agony, and voices high and hoarse with the sound of hands. Very, very similar here. So I'm not going to read all that. And so, and I, my head oppressed by horror, Dante saying to Virgil, Master, what is it that I hear? Who are those people so defeated by the pain? And he to me, this miserable way is taken This miserable way is taken by the sorry souls of those who live without disgrace and without praise. And let's go ahead and go to the footnotes here. Let's see. So line 35. And he to me, this miserable way is taken by the sorry souls of those who live without disgrace and without praise. Those, when he says those, he refers to the neutral or cowardly who in life chose neither good nor evil. It's like they never chose to act. They never, they were always just in the middle. And this isn't the same as the middle path, because the true middle pather has integrated both sides. This is someone who doesn't really, like, they don't stand up for anything, you know, they're not. I think that's more what they mean here. The neutral or cowardly who in life chose neither good nor evil, who have left neither fame nor infamy behind them, and who are rejected not only by heaven, but even by hell. Because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I shall begin to vomit you from my mouth. Revelation. On his visit to the underworld, Aeneas saw similar crowds of souls, those of the unburied. Dante adapts several elements of this episode from book 6 of the Aeneid, which is written by Virgil. And I've tried to read some of the Aeneid, but it's actually like way harder to read in my opinion than like the Dante, the Divine Comedy. So I may, you know, I've tried to watch more like summaries on the Aeneid on YouTube, because there's people that explain it, I think, way better than I could. But the Divine Comedy is like a lot more occult, in my opinion. It's much more in line with like ceremonial magic and the stuff that, you know, is related to this channel. But anyway, lost my train of thought there for a second. We were talking about the neutral. And, you know, this constant theme of like being, you know, stuck in hell or whatever, I think it's more of like, it's showing us, this book, the Inferno, is really showing us, it's pushing us. I think anytime, you know, the mistake they made in Christianity was like, oh, it's all about punishment, it's about punishment. I think it should be more about like, look, if you have these condensed versions of sin, like you just, so, you know, you live in this dark, if you live in this darkness, look at this story, the Inferno, look at what happens to these souls in hell. Like, it's really bad stuff. So I think it helps us realize that if we don't evolve, if we don't shift through the things that we need to, if we don't rise above it and become more celestial and less carnal, you know, and we become less concerned about the carnal and the physical. We are carnal beings, so I think it's a good thing to enjoy the physical, but if we get caught up on those things solely, you know, only, then, you know, that's no good. We need to see the bigger picture and understand everything in the world for the essence of what it is, not just what it appears to be, but like, you know, genuinely at heart, what is it, as we go forward. But yeah, I'm not really going to cover too much more. I'll read just a little bit more here. The sorry souls of those who lived without disgrace and without praise, they now commingle with the coward angels, the company of those who were not rebels nor faithful to their God, but stood apart. The coward angels, the angels who remained neutral in Lucifer's rebellion. So these are angels that neither took the side of God or, you know, went really to the dark side of the fallen angels. So I don't really hear about these angels. Like, I don't know any neutral angels' names, you know, per se, from reading any of this stuff, esoteric stuff that I have. The heavens that their beauty not be lessened have cast them out, nor will deep hell receive them. Even the wicked cannot glory in them. And I, what is it, Master, that oppresses these souls, compelling them to wail so loud? He answered, I shall tell you in a few words. I shall tell you in few words. Those who are here can place no hope in death, and their blind life is so abject, abject, that they are envious of every other fate. The world will let no fame of theirs endure. Both justice and compassion must disdain them. Let us not talk of them, but look and pass. So Virgil's like, let's go ahead and move onward. And I, looking more closely, saw a banner that as it wheeled about, raced on so quick that any respite seemed unsuited to it. behind that banner. The following of a banner is an eternally ironic expression of the neutral's lack of any commitment in life. So it's weird. That's how they represent these people who did not take any standpoint, is they hide behind a banner, and it's supposed to be ironic. It's so strange. Behind that banner trailed so long a file of people I should never have believed that death could have unmade so many souls. Interesting. After I had identified a few, I saw and recognized the shade of him who made through cowardice the great refusal. Him, referred to as Pope Celestine V, who abdicated after a reign of only 5 months in 1294, thus making way for the accession of Pope Boniface VIII. Other suggestions are that the soul is Esau, Esau, who renounced his birthright to Jacob, or Pontius Pilate, who washed his hands of any responsibility for the death of Christ. So this character is supposed to be one of these two people that they're referring to here. And I think I'm about to go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm just going to go ahead and read a little bit of the older version up to the line. Let me see what line I was here in the Canto. I read up pretty much to line 60. So this video, we got into Canto 3 finally. We started talking about hell a little bit, and we have made it to line 60 in Canto 3. Let me go back. Line 37. And Virgil to Dante says, "And he to me, this miserable mode, maintained the melancholy souls of those who lived withouten infamy or praise. Commingled are they with that caitiff choir, Caitiff." See, this book would be so hard to understand, this version especially, because there's no footnotes or anything in it, if you didn't have like another version of it, or you'd have to go online to like SparkNotes or something like that. "Of angels who have not rebellious been, nor faithful were to God, but for self." So that's a different interpretation. So, okay, commingled are they with that caitiff choir, and I would have to look up the definition of caitiff. I don't know. Caitiff, choir of angels who have not rebellious been, nor faithful were to God, but were for self. The heavens expelled them, not to be less fair, nor them the nethermore abyss receives. For glory none the damned would have from them. And I, O Master, what so grievous is to these that maketh them lament so sore? He answered, I will tell thee very briefly. These have no longer any hope of death, and this blind life of theirs is so debased. They envious are of every other fate. No fame of them and the world permits to be. Misericord and justice both disdain them. Let us not speak of them, but look and pass. If you remember me reading this before, and I've got about 10 more lines to read. And I who looked again beheld a banner, which whirling round ran on so rapidly that of all pause it seemed to me indignant. I don't know if that word's indignant or indignant. I think indignant sounds more correct. And after it there came so long a train of people that I never would have believed that ever death so many had undone. When some among them I recognized, I looked and I beheld the shade of him who made through cowardice the great refusal. And we just talked about the two characters who that might have been. So in the next Dante video, we will pick up from this spot. So yeah. This is fun, guys. I'm glad I was able to get 2 videos in today. Thank you all for watching, especially if you've actually made it through, my videos. I know I can probably get pretty boring to listen to sometimes, but I just want to make like a permanent, record basically of this information so that other people can have some of this and it can be passed along, at least my unique interpretation. I have this, you know, recorded now. I have been working on my book, Occult Perspectives on Freemasonry and Ceremonial Magic, but I'm really not into writing anymore as much as I am. I really like doing videos. I feel like I'm able to get a lot more information out from speaking. I used to be not as much of a speaker, and I used to be more of a writer, especially when I was younger, but I find it really hard to really have the concentration anymore. I don't know if it's just from, you know, having like a lot of heightened energy, and as a Scorpio I feel like my energy's pretty water. I'm always on the go, so it's hard for me to sit and like try to write something out. But if I'm explaining it verbally, it seems to be I can talk about a lot more concepts. If I'm writing something, I'm constantly like editing it over and over and over, so I'm not able to get as much information out. But usually when I do write material, I edit it so many times that by the time it's ready to be read by somebody, it's usually pretty concise and to the point. But I do like these YouTube videos. I do like presenting information in this way. So I want to continue to do so. And I have a lot more to teach. I'm learning as well. We're all learning together, you know, in this great school of life, this school that we call Earth. That so many people are confused about really what is the nature of reality, and they're so stuck up in kind of the game, you know, the false matrix. This is the time of awakening. This is the Aeon of Horus, the age of Aquarius now. We are moving into that age. Also, check out, there's some free Gaia content on YouTube now. If you want to, I heard that Jordan Maxwell just passed away, like not too long ago at all. There's some free Jordan Maxwell Gaia material on YouTube. And also there's another guy who talks about Atlantis and past lives and stuff, and the Seraphim and the Elohim. It's all very interesting stuff. I highly recommend checking it out. But for now, I'm going to jump off of here. Peace and blessings, everyone. Take care.